Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something that, well, a lot of us whisper about, but maybe don't fully get. It's this idea that an avoidant person might actually be secretly obsessed. And, if you've ever dealt with someone with that kind of avoidant attachment style, you might be thinking, obsessed? Seriously? They usually run for the hills the second I show, like any real emotion.
It's a really compelling paradox, isn't it? Because avoidants often feel things much more intensely than they ever let on. You see that surface level distance, those short replies, maybe they even disappear for a bit. But underneath all that, there can be a real storm of emotion. They're just not comfortable sharing it. It's not really coldness. It's more like a deeply ingrained defense mechanism.
Absolutely. Yeah. So our mission today really is to kind of pull back the curtain. We want to give you a clear, calm breakdown of 5 signs you might miss, signs that suggest an avoidant person might actually be, secretly fixated on you. Think of it like an investigation. We're peeling back the layers here. All right, so let's dive into this hidden world. Let's peel back that first layer. Sign number 1, they keep tabs on you, but always from a distance. And we're not talking constant texts here or big I miss you declarations. It's way more subtle than that. Almost like quiet surveillance.
Exactly. Yeah, surveillance is a good word, though. Maybe a bit intense. But for avoidance, see, direct closeness just feels overwhelming, risky. They've often learned, maybe early on, that it's safer to just watch from afar. The emotional stakes of actually engaging feel too high. But that urge, that subconscious pull to stay connected to someone they're genuinely interested in, that's still incredibly strong. It's almost like this subconscious need to gather information about you, to kind of map out your world in their head. It lets them feel connected, maybe even intimately connected to you, the object of this hidden fixation, but without facing that terrifying vulnerability of, actual emotional closeness. So this means you might notice them, like quietly keeping up with what you're doing online, maybe watching your stories, but crucially, not reacting, or lurking on your profiles, and then boom, out of nowhere, maybe weeks of silence, you get a random hey checking in text, or you hear they've been asking mutual friends how you are.
Yeah, it's like they're building this silent, private database on you. It's kind of weird when you think about it. And here's what I find really interesting. If someone disappears, but then they reappear, every single time, you pull away or you seem like you're moving on. That's almost never a coincidence, is it? Yeah. It feels like a sign they're trying to keep you in their orbit, right? Yeah. Maintain that sort of low-level connection without having to actually deal with their own discomfort around being vulnerable. Okay, so sign 2. Now, we know avoidants are often the ones creating the distance, yeah? But what happens when the tables turn? When you pull away first? Does that shake up their carefully built world?
Oh, it absolutely does. Yeah, when you create distance, it disrupts their illusion of control. And that sense of control is often a really deep-seated need for them, maybe rooted in early experiences where they had to manage their emotions all alone. So losing that perceived control, it can trigger this almost like primal response, an obsessive kind of drive to get that feeling back. Even if they can't handle real intimacy, deep down they still crave a sense of emotional security with the person they're fixated on. And that's when you might suddenly see them texting you more, or asking these really subtle questions, trying to figure out if you're seeing someone new, or sending those confusing, what did you call them? Breadcrumb messages. Breadcrumb messages, yeah. Can you unpack that a bit more? What does that actually look like?
Sure. Think of them as those tiny, non-committal little pings, like symbol, hey, thinking of you. Or maybe sending a random meme or article. It's just enough to kind of reel you back in, keep you on the hook, But it's never enough to actually build genuine closeness or move towards any kind of commitment. It keeps things ambiguous. Right, so it's not just that they react, it's how they react. They try to regain control, but in a way that still feels safe for them. But hang on, couldn't someone argue that's just, normal? People don't like being rejected or feeling like they're losing someone. What makes it specifically an obsessive thing for an avoidant?
That's a really great question. I think the key difference for an avoidant lies in the indirectness of it all and the underlying intent. Someone with a more secure attachment might feel hurt or worried, sure, but they'd likely express it more directly. They might say, hey, I feel like you're pulling away, can we talk? An avoidant, especially one in this kind of secret obsessive state, often defaults to these, almost manipulative indirect tactics. The goal isn't really to build intimacy, it's to regain that sense of control and proximity, but only to their preferred safe distance. It's about pulling you closer, but not too close.
Sign 3 always kind of gets me. It's how observant some seemingly detached people can be. Is that particularly true for avoidants? Do they really notice the small stuff even when they seem, checked out?
Oh, absolutely. They really do. And what's fascinating, I think, is that this hyper-observational skill, it's their unique way of staying connected without needing to be emotionally exposed. If they are secretly fixated on you, these tiny little details don't just get registered, they stick. Because even if they seem distant, their mind is often kind of looping around you, thinking about you, even if they'd never ever admit it. It's like this silent form of internal engagement. So yeah, they might suddenly recall some tiny thing you mentioned months ago, something you've completely forgotten saying, or they bring up old inside jokes, or they remember your favorite coffee order, or that comfort movie you mentioned once, or, your cat's name. It's like they have this secret internal database running just on you. It's quite remarkable, actually.
Huh. Almost like a secret admirer, yeah. Except instead of flowers, they just randomly remember your preferred brand of tea from last year. Okay, that's fascinating. Moving on to sign 4. Most avoidants tend to keep a pretty steady emotional baseline, right? Kind of flat across the board. So if you start noticing big emotional swings, you should probably pay attention. Especially, and this is key, if those swings are only happening around you.
Mm-hmm. And an intriguing part of this, this inconsistency, it isn't random. It's actually a form of deep emotional protection. Avoidants often wrestle with this really intense internal push-pull dynamic. It's classic. Part of them deeply desires closeness, connection. But another often stronger part is terrified of it. Absolutely terrified. So they unconsciously act out both sides of that conflict. Sometimes even, in the same conversation or within the same day. One minute they might be cold, distant, barely responsive. The next, maybe they're joking with you or showing this sudden, intense curiosity about your life. Or, and this can be really confusing, they might randomly open up, share something surprisingly personal, only to then pull back sharply right after, almost like they instantly regret showing that vulnerability. Or maybe they act totally indifferent when you're around other people, but then show this weird, unexpected intensity when you're alone.
Wow, so the takeaway here is, if they don't act like this with anyone else, if this up and down behavior is reserved just for you, that's a pretty powerful signal, isn't it? It suggests you're the emotional exception. And that's often where this deep hidden fixation is kind of subtly hiding out. Okay, let's talk about the last sign, number 5. This one often flies under the radar. It can be really subtle. It's about the routines, the sort of rituals they set up to stay connected, but without ever actually getting too close.
Yes, and this brings up a really critical point about, again, control and boundaries. These are basically low-risk behaviors. They're often quite deliberate strategies, even as subconscious sometimes. They allow the avoidant person to sort of feed their fixation in a controlled way, always on their own terms. For instance, maybe they only message you late at night. When the emotional stakes feel lower, there's less pressure for a deep, immediate back and forth. Or they'll consistently like your social media posts, but they never comment. It's like maintaining a digital presence without actual conversation. Sending memes or funny videos is another classic example. It's a way to stay in touch, to say, I'm thinking of you maybe, but without having to say anything personal or truly engage. And of course, the big one, keeping you in that perpetual talking stage, where things never quite progress towards real commitment. That's a hallmark of this safe distance strategy.
Right. It's like they'll always find some way to stay in your life, won't they? Even if it means dodging the real emotional conversations, keeping you just close enough to be in their orbit, but far enough away that they feel protected. It sounds like a pretty unhealthy dynamic, honestly. So, okay, we've unpacked these 5 signs. They're subtle, they're complex. But here's where we need to be really clear. I think this is super important. Just because someone might be showing these signs, might be secretly fixated on you, that absolutely does not mean they're ready for a healthy relationship, or even that they're aware of how deep their own behavior goes.
Exactly. This is the really painful paradox we've been circling around. An avoidant person can have incredibly intense internal feelings for someone. They might genuinely see you as like the person they truly want. And yet they can still ghost you. They can put you away. They might refuse to put any kind of label on the relationship. Or they might even actively sabotage things when they start getting close. Because for someone deeply afraid of vulnerability, real closeness feels dangerous, genuinely dangerous. So they end up, in effect, loving you from a safe distance. They might want you intensely, but they fear the emotional cost, the potential pain of truly having you.
Wow. That's a powerful and often incredibly confusing truth for the person on the receiving end. So if you're listening and you recognize these signs, if you feel stuck in this kind of dynamic, you really, really need to ask yourself some hard questions. Is this person actually showing real growth? Are they making a genuine effort towards connection? towards meeting you halfway? Or are you just caught in this endless cycle, being emotionally breadcrumbed by someone who fundamentally doesn't know how to show up fully?
You absolutely deserve someone who shows up for you. Consistently. Authentically. So maybe here's a final thought, something for you to chew on. What is the real difference, the fundamental difference between intriguing mystery and just confusing, damaging, mixed signals?
That's a good question to end on. Don't fall for mixed signals disguised as mystery. Take care of your heart out there. And thanks, everyone, for being with us on this deep dive.